What rules were put in place because of you? No sign language during silent lunch punishment. My lunch period was so loud we got put on silent lunch for over a month straight. I decided the only clear solution was to teach my entire table sign language so we could still talk without getting in trouble. Apparently it was unfair to the kids who didn't know how to sign, so we had to stop. That seems like something your school should have encouraged. Imagine the good press alone that school could have gotten for having a significant chunk of the students learning sign language. Imagine how quiet the lunches would be. It would basically just be a low rustling sound through the entire lunchroom. Lol. A friend of mine in a military school found out the regs never stated what color the bed sheets for a bed made for inspection had to be in. So this madman went and bought Power Ranger sheets and made the perfect regulation bed. I have never seen so many SGTs lose their shit but be unable to do anything since the regs were perfectly followed. Needless to say, the next year they were updated to state sheets must be plain white. Every one of those sergeants were inwardly impressed that someone went to the trouble to read the regs. We're secretly thrilled that someone actually read the regs, but we have to bust your balls anyway. This hurts with its accuracy. Back in the day, a radio station had a weekly trivia contest. The prize was a free pizza and movie rental. Somehow my mom figured out which book they were using for the trivia questions. She bought it and memorized all the answers. Each week we would call in immediately. Sometimes we were the first, but even if we weren't it didn't matter because other people were usually just guessing. We won almost every time. Even though we changed up who would actually make the call, they eventually figured out we were all from the same household. So they made it a rule you couldn't win if your family had already won in the last month or whatever. Up till then, we enjoyed a lot of free pizzas. Some guys at the local telephone company were call jamming any radio station giveaway in my large Midwestern city. All the stations banned any telco employee from winning. Jerry was almost daily winner. My brother and I got into a cattle prod sword fight at a farm store. We shocked the hell out of each other a few times and now they are locked up. We were in our 30s. You fight like a dairy farmer. How appropriate. You fight like a cow. Gets zapped with cattle prod. I put a croissant in one of those hotel toasters. It soon became engulfed in flames and needed extinguishing. Next day at breakfast they made a sign that said, if you'd like your croissant toasted, please ask a member of staff. How? If it's the kind of toaster I'm thinking of, the croissant gets stuck when it reaches the back and the belt continues to move. Stuck soft bread catches on fire quickly in the back of the toaster. I worked at a restaurant that uses these toasters. Our croissants were always very soft and flaky. We would unstick them with our long bread knives. Can confirm. Worked at a famous bread company cafe and a customer demanded her croissant, the last one, go through the toaster. So we watched it heat up and burst into flames together, but only one of us laughed. Some people just want to watch the croissant burn. I got our hour box taken away at work because the hour lady threatened not to pay us if we missed a clock in or clock out. In our defense, the phones didn't always work and the clock-in system was really unreliable, and I printed out the law stating that was illegal, highlighted it, and put it in her box when no one was around. She threw an unholy fit and tried to figure out who put it in her box, and from then on everything had to be handed in personally. Lol. She sounds like the worst kind of hour person, honestly. Like she should darn well know that's illegal. Oh, she's a great cunt. Lol. I'm so thankful that I will be leaving in a few weeks. You should slip something about wage laws under her door before you leave. Finally, I get to add a personal story to Reddit. When I was walking home from school, I had to walk next to the road to get to my house. I decided to see if I could walk with my eyes closed. I didn't feel the transition from gravel to road, and the cars didn't honk at me, as they made a line, because they thought I was deaf. I heard a noise, looked back, and ran off the street into an orchard. 2 weeks later, they put up deaf child area signs on both sides of the road I live on. This entire thread is ducking stupid material, but this one really takes the cake. Like, why are children always making decisions that could get them killed for fun? Lamau. Lol, to be fair, this was the worst decision I've ever made. Been doing much better since. My junior high made a rule against yo-yos in class after I tried to do a trick and my yo-yo flew across the room and broke a glass beaker set. I'm sorry, guys. At least you didn't kill goldfish like Bart. At a ballpark I worked concessions at, they had an all-you-can-eat promo day where tickets were more expensive than usual, but concessions around the stadium were free, excluding alcohol. So I worked that day and of course it was chaos, but when the lines started dying down later in the game they started sending some of the hourly employees home, myself included. But of course, I didn't go home. After I clocked out, I stayed in the stadium and got some cheeseburgers and Philly steak and soda and found an empty seat in the crowd for the last few innings. Next year, same promo, but new rule for staff: if you get sent home early, you have to actually leave the stadium. Boo-oh-oo. You work concessions, the one free day a year, you deserve it the most. The weird thing about low-paying jobs is that the powers that be will literally never throw you a bone. It's like they try to make it as miserable as possible. When I worked behind a deli counter and we had hot food prep in the room behind us, they'd insist on throwing away all the fried chicken and macaroni that didn't sell that day, despite it still being perfectly good. Fortunately, our manager never stayed past 6 and we closed at 9, so we just helped ourselves in the back to whatever was garbage. Reminds me of my policy of making sure some of the garbage pizzas were first ran through the oven, sliced, boxed, and handed off to my delivery driver to take to the garbage for me. As a delivery driver, I definitely saved my family quite a bit of money on groceries by bringing home garbage from the store. Such a bullshit rule for no good reason. In middle school I would use Sharpies to tattoo myself. Other kids thought it was cool so I started charging $1 per drawing wherever they wanted. Principal found out and after I wouldn't stop, she put a ban on Sharpies for the entire school. Even the teachers couldn't bring them in. I'm a tattoo artist now. I bet you did a ton of that cool S-letter thing that every middle schooler is obsessed with drawing. LLLLLLILLILL. This took me way too long. If it doesn't work, it was the damn cool S. Edit, it didn't work. Edit 2, OFC. My first awards happened to be for me embarrassing myself. I upvoted you for trying. My younger brother was always late to school, small school, and was tardy. He figured out if he just skipped first period and went to second he was counted as being on school and no late penalty because he was at second period on time. They changed this the following year. PPL really need to look at what behavior the rules are encouraging. I did something similar. 5 minutes late absent, so if I was 5 minutes late I just wouldn't go. Missed a lot of school. I had a soccer coach who would make the whole team run if one of us was late to practice, so my teammates and I made a rule that if you were going to be late, you wouldn't come. Coach caught on eventually, we confessed, and no more running if one of us was late. Nothing sucks like group punishment for an individual's actions. No typewriters in class. I was kind of a shit kid and while my school allowed us to use laptops, I would play video games. Primarily Warcraft 3. In class. No sound or anything, so I wasn't being a complete nuisance, but I wasn't doing my work. A teacher told me I couldn't use my laptop. I happened to have a 1950s Remington Quiet Writer portable, all mechanical typewriter. It was anything but quiet, with all of the taka ding you'd expect from a typewriter. After one full day of studiously taking notes and doing my assignments via typewriter, my teacher said I could use my laptop as long as I didn't bring the typewriter to class. That is aggressively following the rules. Or malicious compliance? My elementary school was located in the center of the neighborhood, and my 5th grade class was the first to get outdoor trailers for classrooms. We'd ask for bathroom passes and then walk home. Next year they built a fence around the school. This is a keep it to yourself issue. You can't let everyone know the get out of school free trick because someone will notice if everyone is doing it. Golf users can no longer return an unlimited hash of balls for tokens. When I was maybe 12-ish there was a kids' outdoor play area. Go-karts, batting cages and indoor was something like a Chuck E. Cheese, token-based games, etc. You could get a wristband for maybe $15 and it'd get you unlimited rides, mini-golf and some other activities. Everything else cost tokens. When you finished golfing you'd get 2 tokens for bringing your ball back. Unlimited golf, 50 cents worth of play value inside. So my friends and I would go there, speed run 2 golf games and give the balls back. $1 to our pockets. Later on we started just fishing balls out of the water hazards and turning them in. Subtly at first and then in bulk later. The guys working there didn't care or actively laughed at it. So we'd have a few hundred tokens. Then we started selling them 5 for $1. We stopped buying the unlimited bands. I biked there and earned $25 in a couple of hours. Management eventually caught on and altered the token for ball exchange. Lil Hustler.